Live from Pheno Field here in Milford, Massachusetts, WMRC is happy to present coverage of Milford Legion baseball. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Coet here on the call as we get set to bring you the home opener of the 2016 season for Milford Post 59. And for this Milford team, hot starts have been a bit of a rarity over the last couple of years. Of course, Milford getting off to a really tough 0-3 start to the season last year. A rough start again in 2014 as well, but Milford did not have to worry. They did not have to wait long to get into the win column here in 2016. They began their season just a couple of nights ago, back on Sunday, as they opened the season on the road, taking on Leominster Post 151, and Milford was able to come through with a 4-1 victory over Leominster in that season opening game, I should say. Kevin Valentine got the start for Post 59. He was really the story of the game on the mound. 6 very strong innings, allowed just a single run on 4 hits. He struck out 5 in the game to earn the victory, and he was also a force on offense as well, putting Milford on the scoreboard early with a 3-run home run in the top of the first inning. It immediately put Milford in the lead, and they would not relinquish that lead all game long. So Milford able to start the season 1-0, defeating Leominster in that first game on the season, and now they will kick off their home schedule, the first of 3 consecutive home games here at Pheno Field, as they will take on Shrewsbury Post 397 here in their home opener tonight. First pitch coming up at the top of the hour at 7 p.m. But of course, these are two teams with an interesting history dating back to last season. Milford and Shrewsbury tangling up in some very passionate matches throughout the regular season and in the playoffs. They split their regular season games, with Milford getting a convincing victory here at home. Shrewsbury was able to defend their home turf late in the season, and then the two ended up squaring off in a 1-game playoff in the first round of the Zone 4 playoffs, a game that went back and forth. A lot of momentum swings, a lot of key moments in that game, and Milford was able to steal a victory on the road in that 1-game playoff, eliminating Shrewsbury from the playoffs. There was also some emotions that started to boil over towards the end of that game as well, so it will be interesting to see if that passion shows through again here in 2016. That is something I asked Coach DeVito about, and you will hear that coming up in just a few short minutes in our Unibank Coaches Corner. But again, it is a great day here in Milford as Post 59 gets set to open up their regular season schedule here at home. Perfect conditions here in Milford to see the first Legion baseball game of 2016. Again, it is Milford Post 59 taking on Shrewsbury Post 397, and we will have first pitch coming up in just under 15 minutes. But we will step aside for a very quick break right here. When we come back, we will hear from Coach DeVito in our Unibank Coaches Corner. That is next. Stay tuned to coverage of Milford Legion baseball here on First Class Radio. Welcome back, everybody, to the Consigli Ruggiero Funeral Home pregame show. We are getting very close to first pitch time here at Pheno Field, so let's continue on with our pregame information. Let's bring you the starting lineups for today's game. We'll start off with the visiting Shrewsbury Post 397. Leading it off is the center fielder Adam Twitchell, with Tyler McCune, the shortstop, batting second. Batting third is Sam Shaw, the right fielder, with the catcher Nick Martin batting fourth. Matt Bonolo bats fifth and plays third base, with Alex Black, the first baseman, batting sixth. Batting seventh is the designated hitter Dylan Zona, with Matt Jackson playing second base and batting eighth. And batting ninth, playing left field, is Casey Boudreau. And for Post 59, their lineup looks like this. Matt DeCina leads off at shortstop, with Brian Espinette batting second and playing second. Kevin Valentine hits third and plays first base, with Aiden Wild in the cleanup spot playing third base. Blake Hill bats fifth and plays left field, with the DH Tyler Monahan batting sixth. Jeff Basazzi catches and bats seventh, with Joe Sanchioni getting the start today in right field batting eighth. And in the ninth spot playing center field is Sean Rebello. Your pitching matchup in this one, Jack Snyder takes the ball for Shrewsbury, and on the mound for Post 59, completing his warm-up tosses right now, set to make his Post 59 debut, is number 5, Tyler Broder. Just completing those warm-up tosses, and it is 72 degrees here in Milford. Very comfortable conditions for this game, as the first pitch of the season is tossed in by Broder, and it's fouled away by Adam Twitchell for strike one. So nice to see Legion baseball return once again to Pheno Field. The next pitch from Broder is hit on a line towards the left side of the infield. Playing it on a bounce is Wild. He throws across to first base on target. And the first out of the inning is recorded. Adam Twitchell retired on the 5-3 ground out. A light breeze blowing here at the field, keeping things very comfortable Not too warm, not too cold, just right for this home opener of the 2016 season. And Tyler Broder now set to work against Tyler McCune, the shortstop for Post 397, in on the right side. And the right-handed tossing Broder tosses in a pitch just a little bit outside. A quick 2-ball, no-strike count on McCune. A lot of these names on this Post 397 squad are going to sound familiar. Many returning players on this Shrewsbury team. A 3-ball, no-strike count now on McCune. Wearing number 5 on his back, the righty tosses in, and it is high. A 4-pitch walk to McCune. He will trot down to first base as the first Shrewsbury base runner. Both of these teams come into action this evening with 1-0 records. Shrewsbury just a couple of days removed from a lengthy run through the Division I Central High School playoffs. They squared off against St. Peter Marion, of course the main feeder school for Eastside. And it was St. Peter Marion who was able to come away with the win. The first pitch into Sam Shaw scoots away from Basazzi, and that will allow the runner McCune to advance to second base. Jeff Basazzi getting the start behind the plate after Tyler Monahan was the backstop for game 1 and a pass ball charge to Basazzi. 5 straight out of the strike zone for the pitcher Broder, who now gets a ground ball right back to the mound. They have the runner hung up between second and third. Now the toss into Aiden Wild. He will apply the tag, and the out is recorded. A bouncer right back to the mound. Broder reacted quickly, spun around, and had that runner frozen between second and third. The rundown ensued, and eventually it is the third baseman who was able to apply the tag. So Sam Shaw reaches on the fielder's choice, but Milford able to cut down the lead runner. So 2 outs now in the inning. The lone runner is at first base. And now the catcher, Nick Martin, stands in. And Broder's next pitch is delivered in between the hole between first and second. A base hit, and now the throw comes right back into second base. And Shaw is able to dive back into the bag. He had taken a wide turn around second. DeCina fielding that throw back in from right field. But Shaw was able to get the hand back into the bag, so he is safe at second base. That is the first hit now of the inning, credited to the catcher Nick Martin, who is at first base. Runners at first and second now for Shrewsbury. And a chance now for the number 5 hitter, Matt Bonolo, who was the featured hitter in Shrewsbury's win in their season debut. He was able to come away with a pair of hits and 2 RBI in Shrewsbury's 7-4 win over Northbridge last night. Shrewsbury defeating the always difficult Northbridge in their season debut. It's a 1-ball, 1-strike count now on Bonolo. One ball, 1 strike, 2 outs in the inning, 2 runners aboard as this pitch is hit in the air foul over the backstop and out of play. And the count goes to 1-2. Tyler Broder, a graduate of BVT this past spring, sets at the belt. Here is his pitch, and it's grounded foul down the third base line. Big over-the-top delivery for Broder. We heard a bit of a scouting report on him from Coach DeVito before the game. Not a tremendous amount of velocity out of the right-hander, but good command. DeVito saying he has a good heavy fastball. About to deliver another 1-2 pitch, and this is sent hard to the backstop. Couple of fresh baseballs sent in from the Milford dugout, courtesy of Matt Gerard, the newest member of the Post 59 coaching staff. Of course, a standout player. Played his final season for Post 59 back in 2012. An excellent hitter, an excellent defensive outfielder as well, and certainly a welcome addition to the staff. Ball 2 issued from Tyler Broder, and the count evens. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Shrewsbury making Broder work in this first inning. Runners lead off of first and second base. Here is the pitch, and it's a big sweeping breaking ball in there for a called strike 3. Bonolo frozen. The first strikeout of the game for Broder, and that will strand 2 runners aboard as the top of the first inning comes to an end. Shrewsbury cannot score. The Milford Post 59 hitters will take their first swings of the season here at Pheno Field. When we come back next, stay tuned to coverage of Milford Legion baseball here on First Class Radio. And of course, you can hear the Sports Buzz every Saturday morning, hosted by myself, Matt Romling, and Craig D'Alessandro. Certainly expect to hear quite a bit of Legion baseball discussion on the Sports Buzz as the summer months go along. We enter into the bottom half of the first inning now here at Pheno Field as Matt DeCina stands in on the left side, the 4-year veteran, facing off against the right-handed throwing Jack Snyder, the starting pitcher for Post 397. And Snyder gets a swing and a miss out of DeCina for strike 1. Right back into his windup. Here's the pitch. This is a hard ground ball up the middle and through for a leadoff base hit for DeCina. He takes a turn around first base, but will hold there with a leadoff single. DeCina had an infield hit in 3 trips to the plate against Leominster back on Sunday. Able to get on base to start things here in the home half of the first, and now Brian Espinette will stand in. These were your same top 2 hitters in the lineup 2 days ago. Most of the pieces in the lineup staying the same for Milford, with the exception of Joe Sanchione, who was inserted in playing right field. The pitch into Espinette just grabs a piece of the outside part of the plate. A first pitch strike to the lanky right-hander, lanky left-hander Espinette. Had another strong athletic year all the way around for Hopedale High School, as here he sends a pitch on the ground through the left side of the infield. Back-to-back singles for the top 2 hitters in the Milford lineup as they start to get something going here against Jack Snyder. So 2 on, nobody out, and now here is Kevin Valentine, who was the offensive hero and the pitching hero for Post 59 against Leominster. We talked about it in the pregame, a 3-run home run. It's not often we get to put a check mark in that home run column for Post 59 during the season, but Kevin Valentine getting one early as he sent a 3-run shot over the right field fence at Pincanavino Field in Leominster with 2 outs in the first inning to give Milford a 3-0 lead in a game that Milford would go on to win 4-1. After a brief meeting on the mound, Valentine swings at the first pitch and hits it into the gap out in right center field. Coming around to score is DeCina. They will hold Espinette at third base on a long RBI single from Kevin Valentine. He jumps all over that first pitch from Snyder and once again delivers a first inning lead for Post 59. They lead it now 1-0 over Shrewsbury. 3 consecutive hits to open this inning off of Snyder. DeCina coming around to score from second base. Espinette winds up at third. And so runners at the corners with nobody out, and perhaps a big inning in the making here in their first home at bat of 2016 for Post 59. This time the meeting on the pitcher's mound will involve a member of the coaching staff. The first time around it was just a player-only meeting. Jack Snyder in a jam. Gets some words of encouragement from Coach Frank Vaccaro before getting ready to deal with Aiden Wild. And Wild takes the first pitch in for a called strike 1. Aiden Wild also with an infield hit in the game against Leominster. Milford with half a dozen hits against Post 151, but the majority of those came in the first 2 innings. At one point, Milford went 9 consecutive batters without reaching base after they were able to build up that early 4-0 cushion. But Kevin Valentine was able to make the lead hold up. Here's the next pitch into Wild. This is hit in the air well out to right field. Back goes Sam Shaw, but he does have time to settle underneath and make the catch, tagging at third base. And coming around to score is Espinette. It was a good throw in from Shaw, a little bit up the third base line, and Espinette was able to score standing up. So credit Wild with a sacrifice fly. He'll also take an RBI, as Milford is able to take now a 2-0 lead. And that is just the first out here in the bottom of the first inning. And now Blake Hill will dig in on the left side. The pitch from Snyder. And that is a little bit outside for ball 1. Blake was held hitless in the game against Leominster. He did reach via a walk, but did have 2 strikeouts. Here's the pitch. That grabs a piece of the outside edge. 1-1 the count. Defensively for Post 397, it's Nick Martin behind the plate, Matt Bonolo at third, Tyler McCune at short, Matt Jackson at second, and Alex Black at first. Left to right in the outfield, Casey Boudreau, Adam Twitchell, and Sam Shaw. Snyder deals in ball 2 to Blake Hill to bring the count to 2-1. Fans continuing to file in here at Pheno Field. A good crowd forming for this home opener, as Blake Hill will now jump ahead in the count, 3 balls and a strike. Kevin Valentine is the lone runner on the base paths right now. He is at first, being held on by Black. And Hill swings and misses at the 3-1. Looked like it had some late movement on it from Snyder darting out of the strike zone. And so the count runs full to Hill. And there is a called strike 3. A perfect pitch from Jack Snyder right at the bottom outside corner of the strike zone. It had Hill frozen. So Blake Hill strikes out for the second out of the inning. Frustrated with himself as he makes his way back to the dugout. 2 away now for Tyler Monahan, who serves as the DH in the lineup today. And he takes the first pitch low for ball 1. Milford not having their pitcher hit in the lineup today. So Monahan serving as the DH. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Low once again, 2 balls and no strikes. Should the inning continue, Jeff Basazzi would be the next hitter. Here's the 2-0 now to Monahan, too far inside. No, it grabs a piece of the inside part of the plate. It had Monahan jackknifing out of the way. But apparently getting a piece of the inside corner, so now 2-1 the count. Monahan leveling that bat very high over the shoulder, swings away at the 2-1 and fouls it out of play. And so 2 balls and 2 strikes now with 2 away in the inning. 2 runs home already for Post 59. Again, Kevin Valentine creeps out to a lead at first. Snyder shakes off the first sign from his catcher, now agrees with the call. Here's the pitch, and that's in for a called strike 3. Back-to-back strikeouts as Snyder battles back to limit the damage in the first inning. But RBIs for Kevin Valentine and Aiden Wild in the bottom of the first inning give Milford a 2-0 lead after 1 full inning of play from Pheno Field here in Milford, as we bring you coverage of Milford Legion Baseball here on First Class Radio. A 2-0 lead for Milford over Shrewsbury as we enter into the second inning. And we also want to let everyone know Milford TV is here on the coverage as well. Rob O'Keefe, Tim Rosidi, and Malcolm Zale all here on the coverage. That game should be up and running on the Milford TV educational channel, excuse me, by the end of the week, with full highlights as well on the Milford Informer this Friday night at 7:30 p.m. Tyler Broder ready to get this second inning started, facing batters 6, 7, and 8. Facing Alexander Black, who takes a pitch a little bit outside for a ball. The 1-0 pitch now. This is hit hard through the right side for a base hit. So Black getting things started for Shrewsbury with a leadoff single. That's the second hit for Shrewsbury off of Tyler Broder, and that takes us down to the designated hitter, Dylan Zona. Now first pitch swinging, Zona sends one in the air out to center field. That's going to drop down for a base hit. It looked like Rebello had time to come in on that ball, but he pulled up late and let that drop just a foot or so in front of him. And so a bit of a bloop base hit for Zona, as now it's Shrewsbury who comes through with back-to-back base hits to open up the second inning, looking to immediately respond to the Milford rally. Sean Rebello, a product of Bellingham High School, getting used to the spacious Fino Field center field area. And now the first pitch into Matt Jackson is sent slowly on the ground towards the left side. A bobble out of Aiden Wild. He tries to fire to second base to get an out there, but nothing doing. Everybody's safe. And the bases are loaded with nobody out for post 397. That was a slow roller on the left side. Aiden Wild trying to put a good charge on the ball. Just a little bit of a bobble in the glove, and the throw to second base not in time. So they are loaded up for the number 9 hitter, Casey Boudreau, who takes a pitch down in the dirt. A nice block from Basazi on ball 1. So a tough play there. That will likely go as a fielder's choice. And an E5, as now this pitch is lifted in the air out to left field. Blake Hill settles underneath. No, he lets the ball drop to the turf. A run will come in to score. Here comes the throw to third. They can't get an out there. A run scores. Everybody's safe, and it is now a 2-1 ball game. Blake Hill maybe taking his eye off the baseball with plans to send a quick throw in either towards the plate or towards third base, and instead he lets the ball drop. So that's back-to-back errors now for post 59. It allows Shrewsbury to grab a run. The bases are still loaded, still nobody out as we go back up to the top of the lineup. So Black comes in to score on that last play. Now Zona moves up to third. Jackson at second and Boudreau at first. Blake Hill has played some left field during his Legion career, but predominantly in right field, which is where this ball is sent off the bat of Adam Twitchell. It is Joe Sanchioni who makes the catch, tagging up at third base and scoring. The tying run is Dylan Zona on the sacrifice fly by Twitchell. So just like that, the score is tied at 2. Milford does finally get the first out of the inning. On the play, Matt Jackson able to advance to third. Boudreau stays put at first base, so runners at the corners for post 397. And they're going to rule an out at second base, so the pitcher, Broder, stepping off the mound, firing down to second base. Clearly the coaching staff saw something there. The throw down to second, the tag applied, and the infield umpire ruling it out, so they're going to say that Matt Jackson did not go back to tag up once the ball was caught in right field by Sanchione, so he is now out. What a break for Milford there. 2 outs now in the inning and just a runner at first base. Coach Vaccaro comes out for an explanation, not terribly heated. So a base running mistake there could possibly bail Milford out after 2 runs have scored to tie the game. Shrewsbury did have runners at the corners, but Matt Jackson now erased as he did not properly tag up at second base after the fly ball out. And now the first pitch into Tyler McCune is well high. Tyler Broder just trying to survive through this inning. Facing Tyler McCune, the shortstop who walked back in the first inning. Now a pickoff check over at first base. Boudreau able to dive back in. We've seen 2 Milford errors so far in the frame. Now here's the 1-0 pitch. This is rifled down the left field line, but it's foul. Coach DeVito praising the defense that he saw out of his team in the game against Leominster back on Sunday, but a little bit of sloppy play. Certainly the error on the infield was a judgment call, and we'll confer with the official scoring from Tim Walsh after the game to see if that was indeed an error. It was certainly questionable, but the error out in left field was most certainly an error charged to Blake Hill, a routine fly ball out that Hill was just unable to secure. Another foul ball off the bat of McCune brings the count to 1-2. The runner takes off from first. This pitch is sent in the air out to left field. Settling underneath is Hill. He uses both hands this time to secure the out that ends the inning. Shrewsbury is able to grab 2 runs to tie the game. We head to the bottom of the second inning. It is now Milford 2 and Shrewsbury 2 here on your home for Milford Legion Baseball, WMRC First Class Radio. Coverage of Milford Legion Baseball here on First Class Radio, brought to you in part by working for you. Jeff Basazzi, followed by Joe Sanchione and Sean Rebello, the bottom third of the Milford order, due up in this inning as Basazzi sends a shot fair down the third base line. It travels deep out towards the left field corner. Basazzi will hold up with a long single. That was a laser that rocketed down that third base line, stayed in fair territory, and shot out into left field. So that is already the 4th hit now for Post 59. Basazzi on at first base ahead of Joe Sanchione, who makes his Post 59 debut today. They will check on Basazzi, and he just gets back to the bag. And the Shrewsbury coaching staff feeling as though they got an out there at first. They had started to throw the ball around the infield, but ruling Basazzi just got the fingertips back on the bag. That was close. They had Basazzi leaning. As Sanchione swings at the first pitch and lines it through the left side of the infield for a base hit. So Milford goes right back to work with back-to-back singles. Both of these teams racking up the hits through these first 2 innings. So now down to the number 9 spot. Sean Rebello, who checks the signs down at third base before standing in. Milford up to 5 hits. There's been 8 hits in all in the game, and we are just 3 batters deep into the bottom of the second inning. As Rebello swings at the first pitch, hits it in the air out to right field, ranging over is Shaw. He makes the catch in the right center field gap, and that will hold the runners at bay. Not quite deep enough for Basazzi to tag. So Rebello out number 1 on the fly out to right. And we will now go second time through the lineup as Matt DeCina gets set to stand back in. He singled and scored last inning. Milford wearing their home white jerseys, the second year for these jerseys, Milford debuting them last season. DeCina swings away at the first offering, sends it in the air out to center field. A long run for Twitchell towards left, but he's able to run it down and make the catch. So you can see right now the plan for these Milford batters is to swing early in the count, especially after back-to-back hitters struck out looking to end the first inning. These batters not waiting around. We saw good contact from Visazi and Sanchioni to lead off the inning, but since then, 2 quick fly ball outs. And now a chance for Jack Snyder to get out of the inning if he can retire Brian Espinette. Espinette swinging the bat well immediately out of the gates, had 2 hits against Leominster on Sunday, a hit in his first at bat here tonight, and also a run scored. Brian Espinette, a very talented hitter, a multi-talented athlete, playing football, basketball, and baseball for Hopedale High School, a real star in every sport that he plays in, just naturally gifted. And really made a strong impact with this Legion team when he finally joined the squad last year after a long playoff run with Hopedale, but unfortunately suffered a knee injury towards the end of the season and was lost for the remainder of the year in the playoffs. Here he sends one off the end of the bat out to shallow center field, but Twitchell on the run is able to make the catch for the out that ends the inning. So back-to-back singles to lead off the inning for Milford, but they cannot do anything from there as Snyder is able to retire the side without any damage done on the scoreboard. 2 full innings of play now completed from Fino. It is Milford 2 and Shrewsbury 2 here on WMRC First Class Radio. Top of the 3rd inning now from Fino Field in Milford. Tied at 2 between Milford Post 59 and Shrewsbury Post 397. Tim Coet on the call for WMRC First Class Radio. Milford TV also simulcasting the coverage. They'll be able to hear this call of the game along with all of the imagery as well by tuning into Milford TV. In just a couple of days, a very quick turnover now at Milford TV. Good team covering Milford area athletics, of course covering all of the high school season for 2015-16, which just finished up just last week with a playoff game for the Milford softball team. You can watch all of the Milford TV sports coverage anytime over at My Milford TV on YouTube. Back to action now here in the top half of the 3rd inning. Tyler Broder trying to settle down after a rocky 2nd inning, but he's issued 2 very quick balls out of the strike zone to Sam Shaw. Shaw now swings away and lifts the pitch very high, but it travels foul and completely outside of the seating area behind home plate. The windup and the pitch just off the inside part of the plate. Milford fans wanted the call. Instead, it goes to a 3-ball, 1-strike count. Broder back into his windup. Here's the pitch. This is sent high in the air out to left center field. Racing over is Rebello. He settles underneath and makes the catch. That hung up in the air a long time. It had both Hill and Rebello racing into the gap. It was Rebello who was eventually able to track it down to record out number 1. A towering fly ball off the bat of Sam Shaw, but he is retired. That is one of the times where the spacious outfield served as a friend to Milford. 1 out in the inning now for Nick Martin, the catcher, who takes a look at strike 1. The look in from Broder, now the pitch, a bouncer. The full defensive alignment for Milford, it is Jeff Basazzi behind the plate, Aiden Wild at 3rd, Matt DeCina at short, Brian Espinette at 2nd, and Kevin Valentine at 1st. Left to right in the outfield, Blake Hill, Sean Rebello, and Joe Sanchioni. The next pitch hit hard down the left field line. That's a fair ball traveling all the way down to the 396-foot marker. Extra bases for Martin, who touches second base, and will throw the brakes on as Blake Hill is able to send the throw back into Matt Tessina. A one-out double for Martin.
Now batting number 13, Matt Manolo.
The first extra base hit, the fourth hit in all for Shrewsbury. So a man in scoring position ahead of Matt Manolo, who struck out looking with 2 runners on in the first inning. Ended a potential rally for post 397. Here he swings at the first pitch, lifts it high but not deep out to right field. Brian Espinette traveling out now gives way to Sanchione, but he can't make the catch. Everyone will be safe. More sloppy play in the outfield for Milford. Brian Espinette aggressively racing out to the outfield. Looked like he had charge of the play, but then ended up peeling off at the last moment when he saw Sanchione in the neighborhood, but Sanchione not in great position to make the catch. He did have it in his glove briefly, but let it drop, so that'll be the second error in the outfield for Milford. This time going against Sanchione. And so now 2 in scoring position as Martin had to hold up thinking that ball was going to be caught. He eventually moved on to third, and Manolo was able to head all the way down to second. 3 errors through the first 3 innings for post 59. So more high leverage pitches in this inning from Tyler Broder. Dealing with the number 6 hitter, Alex Black, who singled hard to the outfield last inning and came around to score. And he's ahead in the count now, 2 balls and no strikes. A 2-2 tie, but 2 runners in scoring position with only 1 out for Shrewsbury. This one in the dirt, it ricochets away from Basazzi, a run coming to the plate. Nick Martin will score. Basazzi charged with another passed ball, and this will allow Shrewsbury to take the lead now, 3-2. We saw a nice crisp ball game played between Milford and Leominster on Sunday, but this game not being played with the same attention to detail. Just a lot of sloppy play in the field for post 59, and after taking an early 2-0 lead, they now trail 3-2, and this ball is hit out into the gap in left field, down for a hit. It gets past Blake Hill. It will roll to the fence. 1 run in, as Alex Black will hold up at second base with a double, an RBI double that gives Shrewsbury now a 4-2 lead. That's the second double of the inning for post 397. And so now Broder will deal with Dylan Zona, the DH. He has a hit so far in the game, and it looks like Milford will start to get some activity going in their bullpen. The pitch in high to Zona for ball 1. Looks like Tyler Renault will start to get loose, and after that misfire high out of the strike zone from Broder, Coach DeVito out of the dugout to try to calm down his starter. Again, Tyler Broder, the first-year player here for post 59 after just recently graduating from Blackstone Valley Tech. But it's been a struggle through these early innings. He didn't allow a run in the first, but allowed 2 quick runs after Milford had taken the lead in the second. Has allowed 2 more here in the third inning to give Shrewsbury a 4-2 lead, although a lot of this damage has been done courtesy of some miscues in the field from this post 59 defense. Zona now swings away after the meeting on the mound. The pitch hit over the backstop and out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, a runner at second base. As Broder sets the righty's pitch. That's down in the dirt. Zona thought about it, but was able to hold up on the swing. 2 balls and 1 strike now. Black out to a big lead at second base. Here's the pitch. In the dirt once again. 3 balls and 1 strike. As Renault continues to warm up in earnest over in the bullpen. Here's the 3-1 offering, and that is inside for ball 4. So Zona will head down to first base. A hit and a walk now on his resume so far in the game. Runners at first and second base. And the number 8 hitter, Matt Jackson, due up next. Jackson swings away at the first pitch, hits it foul. Still some room over there behind first base. That traveled near the edge of the field of play, but Kevin Valentine stayed with it and is able to make the catch. That looked like it was headed out towards the pavilion area in front of the concession stand, but it did stay on the field of play, and Valentine is able to collect out number 2. So 2 down now, and Broder will deal with Casey Boudreau next. Boudreau swings at the first pitch, hits it hard down the left field line, but a foul ball. Hard liner out of the number 9 bat, but he could not keep it fair. Boudreau reached on the error by Blake Hill last inning. That error resulted in 1 run scoring. 2 of the 4 runs that Shrewsbury has collected so far in this game have been unearned. Here's the next pitch into Boudreau. It's a breaking ball. A close pitch, but just off the outside, says the home plate umpire. Broder has not gotten a lot of the close pitches on the corners so far tonight. This pitch offered at and sent foul out of play. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs in the inning. Runners at first and second for Shrewsbury. They've scored 4 times in the last 2 innings to take a 4-2 lead, threatening for more here. But Broder a chance to end the inning. Here's the pitch, and it's hit in the air in foul territory down the left field line. Racing over is Aiden Wild, Matt DeCina, and Blake Hill, and no one is able to make the play. It looked like DeCina had the best bid for it, but he could not get there in time. Aiden Wild also close. So Casey Boudreau will have another chance. The crowd eerily silent here at Pheno Field. Here's another 1-2 pitch, and this is a bouncer foul. It will travel over into the third base dugout, occupied by Shrewsbury. It's always a quirk here at Pheno Field during the high school season. The home team, Milford, will occupy the third base dugout. The Legion team chooses to occupy the first base side. There's another 1-2 pitch and another foul ball. So Casey Boudreau proving to be pesky out of this number 9 spot. In the next half inning, we'll give you your first update of the night on how things are going between the Red Sox and the Baltimore Orioles. In the meantime, the 1-2 pitch, and it's fouled away once again. This at-bat quickly reaching double digits in pitches as Casey Boudreau continues to foul away everything in the arsenal of Tyler Broder. Broder sets. Here is the pitch, and it's sent hard and foul again down the left field line. We've seen some very hard contact from Boudreau in this inning, but fortunately for Milford, each time it has gone foul. The 2016 home opener for Milford tonight. Things have not quite gone the way they would hope, at least in the early innings, trailing 4-2. Another 1-2 pitch and a swing and a miss for strike 3. He elevated that pitch and was able to get it past the bat of Boudreau. A strikeout to end the inning, but 2 more runs in the frame for Shrewsbury, and they are able to pull ahead by a margin of 4-2 over Milford here on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on WMRC First Class Radio. Milford with some work to do. They trail Shrewsbury 4-2 as they will send batters 3, 4, and 5 to the plate in the bottom of the third against Jack Snyder. Kevin Valentine getting it started, and Valentine is quickly ahead in the count, 2 balls and no strikes. Valentine drove in the first run of the game back in the bottom of the first on an RBI single. So 4 runs batted in through 2 games on the season for Valentine. Now the 3-0 pitch, and that just grabs a piece of the strike zone. Valentine, the lefty bat, ready. Takes a look at that pitch, which just grabs a piece of the bottom of the strike zone this time, and from a 3-0 count, it's now full. Here's the payoff pitch from Snyder, and that bounces in for ball 4. Snyder pitching very carefully to Valentine and ends up dealing a leadoff walk. So Milford has now had their leadoff base runner on in each of the first 3 innings. The hit column is tied between these 2 teams, 5 apiece, but Shrewsbury with the 4-2 lead. Milford getting back-to-back hits to lead off the second inning, but could not score. They really had Snyder on the ropes at times in this game, but haven't been able to fully cash in. A called strike into Aiden Wild, who drove in a run on a sacrifice fly back in the first inning, which at the time gave Milford a 2-0 lead, but the lead is now flipped into Shrewsbury's favor by a margin of 4-2. Here's the 0-1 offering. Now Snyder goes to the outside part of the plate to get a called strike 2. Right-handed throwing Snyder against the right-handed hitting Aiden Wild. Before we see another pitch, we'll see a pickoff play at first. Valentine able to dive back in. Valentine at first. Wild at the plate. Blake Hill on deck. The set by Snyder. Here's his pitch. That's high. Wild occupied the number 3 spot in the lineup 2 days ago at Leominster, now put here in the cleanup role. A 1-2 pitch, that's in for a called strike 3. Another good pitch from Snyder. So that's the 3rd strikeout for Snyder. All 3 of his strikeouts so far have been on called strike 3. So at times he's had these Milford batters fooled. Another pickoff check at first base, and again Valentine able to slide back into the bag. As Blake Hill waits to see the first pitch of his second at bat, he struck out looking back in the first inning. Looking to get on track offensively. Looking for his first hit of 2016 after batting right around .375 for the high school team this season. Takes a first pitch strike here from Snyder. Milford trying to bring some chatter up out of the dugout. It's been very quiet here at field level. After Milford took that early lead, it's been all Shrewsbury since. It's lulled the crowd into silence, and even the Milford bench has been a little bit flat, trying to bring it to life now. Pitch misses outside to Hill. Hill stands back into the box as Snyder stares in. Now here's his pitch, a breaking ball that stays high. Hill sends it very far down the right field line, but also very foul. Two balls and two strikes now on the left-handed batting Blake Hill. Valentine a short lead at first base, now time called. Hill right back into the box now. Here's the 2-2 offering. It bounces, gets briefly by Martin, but he's able to get to it quickly. No advance by Valentine at first base. It's now a full count. We'll see if Valentine gets a head start. He goes. The pitch is low for ball 4. And the catcher throws through to second base, but no chance for an out there as it was ball 4. Valentine a free trip down to second base as Hill heads to first. That's just the first walk allowed by Jack Snyder in the game. Second walk, I should say, and it's the second walk of the inning. Valentine walking to lead off the frame. And now the one-out walk to Blake Hill, so 2 on with 1 out for Monahan, who swings away at the first pitch and fouls it out of play. We do want to get to that update from Fenway Park. The Red Sox opening up a 3-game series with the Baltimore Orioles. I'll give you the score after this next pitch. It misses outside as the snap throw to first base gets past Alex Black. And each runner will advance. The throw comes into second base. Now ricochets away briefly towards the outfield. As Blake Hill is a bit slow to get up from second base. But the Red Sox do have the bases loaded with 2 outs in the bottom of the second. As we return to action here at Pheno Field, a called strike poured in by Snyder. So a 1-2 count on Monahan. Here's the pitch, and he tries to check the swing. Did he go? No, no swing. They finally confer down to the infield umpire. No swing on Monahan, and once again, the Shrewsbury bench not pleased with the decision from the umpire. So it's now a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Snyder's pitch, and he's able to get the strikeout, a swing and a miss from Monahan, so it takes one more pitch, but eventually Shrewsbury gets the outcome that they were hoping for, a strikeout of Tyler Monahan. So an interesting inning for Jack Snyder, alternating between walks and strikeouts. He has 2 of each so far in the inning, 2 in scoring position with 2 outs now for Jeff Basazzi, who golfs a pitch foul for strike 1. Swung away at the low pitch and golfed it foul down the third base line. Basazzi roped a hard single out to left field in his first at bat. Takes a look at a pitch down in the dirt here. A nice block by Nick Martin with those 2 runners in scoring position. Milford needing to come through with a big 2-out hit here. They've stranded 3 runners through the first 2 innings. Basazzi watches that pitch go by. It misses for ball 2. Jeff got the start at first base in the game against Leominster, went 0 for 3, but played a very good defensive first base for Milford in that game. Here's the 2-0. That hits the strike zone. 2-1 now the count. Count 2-2, check that. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. The next pitch to Basazzi is away. And so a big pitch coming up here for Snyder, as Kevin Valentine leads off of third base. Blake Hill off of second. 2 away in the inning. The set by Snyder. Here's the payoff pitch, and that misses outside for ball 4. A close pitch. Basazzi took it, and he's able to reach via ball 4, so there is the 3rd walk of the inning. Snyder now has to hope that the pattern will hold and he'll get a 3rd strikeout in the inning to end it here, but not if Joe Sanchione has anything to say about it. He was able to single in his first post 59 at bat back in the 2nd inning. Takes a called strike 1. Sanchione wearing the number 4, previously worn by Cole McNana. Sends a high pop foul over towards the edge of the field of play off to the right, and that will just sneak over into the crowd. And so now Sanchione down no balls and 2 strikes, batting with the bases loaded here. Trying to make something out of a potential 2-out rally. Here's the 0-2 pitch. It's high. Sanchione batting out of the number 8 spot tonight. Getting the start in right. Trying to make a good first impression on his new Legion squad. Here's the 1-2. It's popped up foul again off to the right. Racing over is Black as far as he can go, but that will hit off the rooftop of the first base dugout. Sanchione just barely hanging on in this at bat. A couple of foul balls that were very close to staying on the field. Down 1 ball and 2 strikes. Milford runners leading off of every base. Here's the pitch, and this is a high fly ball down the right field line into foul territory. A diving play by Black, the first baseman, and he's able to hold on for out number 3. That looked like it might drop. It eventually weaved its way into foul territory. Black had to go into a lunging dive, and he was just able to grab it and hang on as he impacted with the turf. A very nice defensive play out of the Shrewsbury first baseman, and Milford strands the bases loaded in the bottom of the 3rd inning. We've now played 3 from Fino. It is Shrewsbury 4 and Milford 2 here on WMRC First Class Radio. Fourth inning now from Fino Field here in the 2016 home opener. And right now, Shrewsbury spoiling this first game of the season for Milford as Shrewsbury owns a 4-2 lead. 2-run rallies in the 2nd and 3rd innings for Shrewsbury after Milford had opened up the game with a 2-0 lead. Tyler Broder back on the hill for post 59. It has not been a smooth debut to the Legion career for Broder. He's allowed 4 runs on 5 hits through 3 innings. Just 2 of those runs earned. He's also walked 2 and struck out 2. Looking for better returns here in the top of the 4th as he will deal with the top of the Shrewsbury order. Adam Twitchell taking a look at ball 1. That outside part of the plate to right-handed batters has been a bit of an enigma so far in the game. As now Twitchell swings away at this offering and lines it out to center field for a leadoff base hit. I don't think either side has been particularly happy with the strike zone, and clearly Coach DeVito right now getting a couple of words in with the home plate ump, who turns over towards the first base dugout in response. But we've also heard equal complaints from Coach Vaccaro, so right now the strike zone not making anyone happy. Shrewsbury now with their 6th hit And a called strike now dealt into Tyler McCune. Officially 0 for 1. He did walk in the first inning. And flew out to left field. The 0-1 pitch. That's in for a called strike too. That a bit of a generous call on the inside part of the plate, so maybe a makeup call. No balls and 2 strikes the count. Broder's next pitch. That's up high. Milford squandering a 2-out bases loaded chance in the bottom of the third. They loaded the bases with 3 walks in the inning, but could not cash in on the hit. The Red Sox also squandering a 2-out bases loaded chance in the second inning against the Orioles, so they continue to trail Baltimore 2-0. Meanwhile, from an 0-2 count, Tyler McCune now dealing with an even 2-ball, 2-strike count. The sun setting off in the distance here at Pheno Field as we have just gone past the hour of 8 p.m. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Fouled away off towards the on-deck area for Shrewsbury. Tyler Broder pitching to Tyler McCune of Shrewsbury. A lead at first base for Twitchell, and that catches the attention of Broder. He steps off. We'll start to get you updated on the goings-on around Zone 4 a little bit later in the broadcast. Here, the pitch goes behind the back of McCune, sails to the backstop, and Twitchell will advance to second base. A wild pitch. And now a runner in scoring position. Broder had been ahead of McCune 0-2. The count now full at 3-2. A long look in from the Milford starting pitcher. Here is the payoff pitch. Hit on the ground foul wide of third base. Broder working at a bit of a deliberate pace with that runner in scoring position. Looks down towards second base, now fires to the plate, and there's a called strike 3. Another big sweeping breaking ball that nicked the outside edge. Strikeout number 3 in the game for Broder. So 1 down now in the inning, that runner remaining at second base. And now Sam Shaw digs in on the right side. Shaw takes a look at a pitch low for ball 1. We'll start to take a look at some of the games from last night around the zone in just a minute. First, another pitch from Broder. Here's the 1-0. And that misses inside 2-0. Last night, Shrewsbury gathering their first win of the season in their 2016 debut, a 7-4 win over Northbridge. Maine South also with a victory 9-1 over Eastside. Here's the 2-0 pitch now, a breaking ball. That's in for a strike. Last night, Wachusett defeating North County 10-1 and Framingham all over Grafton Hill by a final of 15-6. Another hot start for Post 74. Here's the 2-1 down in the dirt, blocked by Basazzi. Tonight, a total of 4 games on the schedule, including this one here in Milford. And we already have some score updates from a few of those games. We'll get to those as well. Here's the 3-1. It is down low for ball 4. Sam Shaw will head down to first base. That is the 3rd walk of the game. Coach DeVito out of the dugout. We'll see if this will be the day for Tyler Broder. already starting off the pitcher's mound, and he will hand the baseball off to his head coach. So a short outing in his season debut for Broder. Allows 4 runs through just 3 1/3 innings. He leaves with runners at first and second, and only 1 down. It will be Tyler Renault who will make his post-59 debut on the mound. And we'll keep it right here to continue with the updates on the goings-on around the zone. So here is the full schedule of games for tonight. 3 5:30 start times. Wachusett against Leominster, Sturbridge going up against Cherry Valley, and Northborough playing against Maine South, along with Milford versus Shrewsbury. And thanks to Craig D'Alessandro back in our WMRC studios, we can let you know that when last we were updated, Leominster and Wachusett were dueling through a 1-1 tie into the late innings. That update coming after 6 innings. And now getting the late update that Leominster went on to defeat Wachusett 4-2 in 8 innings. So that one going into extras, but Leominster able to grab the victory over the Wombats. And meanwhile, Milford's opponent in tomorrow night's game, Sturbridge, after a rough start to the season, their offense exploded today against Cherry Valley, 14-3. Sturbridge able to come away with the victory in 6 innings, so a mercy rule shortened game. Northborough versus Maine South, also a final score now. Northborough a 3-2 win. They were able to win in walk-off fashion. So all of those 5:30 games already in the books. Again, Leominster over Wachusett 4-2 in 8 innings. Northborough a 3-2 walk-off win over Maine South. And Sturbridge with a 14-3 mercy rule victory over Cherry Valley. Tyler Renault finishing his warm-up tosses. And now about ready to get going. He deals the first pitch in now to Nick Martin. It misses for ball 1. Quick correction to bring you on those final scores in just a moment. This pitch is hit hard into the gap in right center field. A long run for Sanchione, and he's able to make the catch. A nice play out there in right field from Sanchione, running hard into that right center field gap. He's able to make the grab. The runner's forced to retreat. So just to revisit that Leominster-Wachusett score, it was a 4-2 score in favor of Leominster. Leominster with a 4-2 win over Wachusett. Or Wachusett with the 4-2 win. We're getting our wires crossed here as we get the updates from the studio. So Wachusett 4, Leominster 2, as we finally give you the correct final score. My apologies. Wachusett 4 and Leominster 2 in 8 innings. And we can tell you for sure in this game, Milford with the 4-2 deficit to overcome over Shrewsbury. As post 397 bats here in the top of the 4th inning. Tyler Renault making his debut on the mound in relief of Tyler Broder. He's been able to induce a fly ball out of Nick Martin, now dealing with the third baseman Matt Bonolo. Jumps ahead of the batter, 1 ball and 2 strikes with 2 outs in the inning. Runners at first and second base. The lefty Renault deals to the plate, and off the end of the bat, Bonolo cues it foul to the backstop. Another 1-2 pitch, and it's on the ground right into the glove of Aiden Wild. He'll take it to the third base bag for the force play that ends the inning. So Renault is able to do the job out of the bullpen. He gathers the last 2 outs of the inning. Shrewsbury strands 2 runners aboard. They cannot score, and we head to the bottom of the 4th inning. Milford continues to trail Shrewsbury by a score of 4-2. Stay tuned to coverage of Milford Legion Baseball here on First Class Radio. Coverage of Milford Legion baseball here on First Class Radio, brought to you in part by sponsor of our longest drive of the game. Milford hoping for some long drives here in the bottom of the fourth inning as they trail 4-2. Jack Snyder continuing to work on the mound for Shrewsbury as his pitch into Sean Rebello is lined out to left field for a base hit. Rebello right on that pitch, lining it out to shallow left for a single. So the hit column is even once again at 6 aside, with Shrewsbury owning the 4-2 lead in the run column where it counts. But Rebello able to get on to lead off the fourth as Milford continues their streak of getting their leadoff man on. They've done it in every inning, but they have not been able to score since the first. They've stranded a total of 5 men. But Rebello at first now ahead of Matt DeCina as we go third time now through the Milford lineup. DeCina jumps ahead in the count 1-0, swings away at the next pitch. It was up and out of the strike zone. DeCina chasing for strike one. Snyder, a look over his shoulder at that runner at first base before he fires into the plate. That misses. 2-1 on DeCina, who is batting with a man on first base. He's 1 for 2 so far today, a single back in the first inning. Here's the pitch. Maybe a little bit outside. Looks like a good pitch at the knees on the outside part of the plate, but ruled ball 3. Continuing to draw the ire of the Shrewsbury coaching staff. Here's the next one, and that's in for a called strike, further outside than the last one, which was ruled ball 3. Anybody's guess where the strike zone is throughout this game. 3 balls and 2 strikes now on DeCina, as they'll check over at first base. Rebello back. Sean Rebello right back out to a sizable lead at first base. Here's the payoff pitch. The runner goes. The ball is tapped to third base. Milford avoids the double play as the runner was off on the pitch. The throw from third baseman Bonolo gets to first base in time to get DeCina. But Milford putting the runner in motion, and that paid off as Rebello is safe at second base on the ground out from DeCina. Likely would have been a double play had Rebello held on the pitch. So instead, Milford has a runner in scoring position ahead of Brian Espinette, who is 1 for 2. And Espinette takes a pitch that misses for ball 1. Snyder checking down to second base, now comes home. The pitch is fouled away. Sneaking up over the roof of the press box. A very large crowd here at Pheno Field for the home opener. Plenty of fans in the stands, and of course in that preferred seating area in front of the in front of the concession stand. The 1-1 into Espinette, an off-speed pitch that had Brian off balance. 1-2 now the count. Still a 2-0 lead for Baltimore over the Boston Red Sox in the fourth inning. Snyder ready with the 1-2. High fly ball foul off to the right. Makes its way over the bleachers and off towards the parking lot. Espinette hanging tough down 1-2 as Sean Rebello gets out to a large lead at second base. The pitch in is high. It glances off the glove of Nick Martin, and on to third goes Rebello. He was already about a third of the way down the line. A very big lead. And easily moves on to third base on the wild pitch. So Rebello now leads off of third. Here's the 2-2 into Espinette. Off the handle of the bat, he floats it out to second base, and Jackson's able to make the catch. Espinette could not elevate that ball high enough to get it over the glove of Matt Jackson at second. 2 down now, and that leaves it up to Kevin Valentine, who's done a good job in RBI opportunities through this early part of the season. Trying to drive in a 2-out run here. Takes the first pitch for ball 1. Two balls and no strikes on Valentine. He singled to drive in a run in the first and walked in the third inning. So a perfect on-base day so far for the starting first baseman. And well ahead in the count now, 3 balls and no strikes. Snyder really has not wanted anything to do with Valentine since that first inning RBI hit. Here's the 3-0. And that grabs the outside part of the plate, 3-1. The next pitch on the way, that is far outside for ball 4. And Valentine will trot down to first base with the second walk of the game. The second walk for Valentine. It is the 4th walk overall for Jack Snyder, who walked 3 batters last inning to load the bases with 2 outs and then was able to dance his way out of it. Now has runners at the corners with 2 outs with Aiden Wild at the plate. And Wild takes a pitch high for ball 1. Snyder sets. Here is the pitch. That misses as well. 2 balls and no strikes. Sean Rebello led off this inning with a single. He is at third base. Valentine, who walked, is at first. Each take their leads as the pitch into Wild is skied on the infield. Jackson, the second baseman, right at the lip of the infield grass, is able to make the catch for the out that ends the inning. Milford strands 2 more runners. That is now 8 in the game. Frustration setting in at the plate for Post 59. We've completed 4 innings now from Fino, and it is still a 4-2 lead for Shrewsbury Post 397 here on your home for Milford Legion Baseball, WMRC First Class Radio. We move on to the top of the 5th inning, 4-2 Shrewsbury over Milford. And we do have one defensive change to tell you about as we move into this 5th inning. Into the game now in left field is Michael Farrell. So he takes over for Blake Hill, who has now left the game. Blake Hill had been attended to on the base paths earlier in the game after he had appeared to have gotten some of the infield dirt in his eyes after sliding into second base. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Blake did remain in the game after that, but now comes out. Michael Farrell takes over in left. The rest of the defensive alignment remains the same, as Tyler Renault now will enter into his first full inning of relief after taking over with 1 out in the 4th. Was able to pitch effectively out of the 2-on, 1-out jam, and now deals in strike 1 to Alex Black. Milford fans certainly hoping that there's nothing too serious wrong with Blake Hill as he comes out of this game. Most definitely factors in as one of Milford's key batters this season, one of their biggest power threats. A 1-ball, 2-strike count for Alexander Black facing the lefty Tyler Renault. And Black now backs out of the batter's box just briefly. Now climbs back in. Renault into his windup. Here's the pitch. Hit right back up the middle. Renault trying to swing the glove behind his back to field the ball as he was falling off towards the third base side, but could not stab it. And it travels through the infield for a leadoff single for Black. The 7th Shrewsbury hit. Renault slapping the glove in frustration after that. He had jumped ahead of Black, but ends up giving up the base hit. Runner at first now for Dylan Zona, who takes a pitch low. Tyler Renault pitched very well for the Milford Scarlet Hawks this season, worked just about exclusively out of relief. He does fall behind Zona here, 2 balls and no strikes. Renault ended the season with a 1-0 record and a 3.15 ERA. Was a good multi-inning reliever. The Scarlet Hawks unfortunately forced to piece a lot of games together early in the season as some of their key arms were a little bit banged up to start the season. A swing and a miss on the 2-1 offering. And Zona now up there with a count of 2-2. Black out to a short lead at first. The 2-2 pitch waved at and missed. The ball hung onto by Basazzi as it darted down and out of the strike zone. Late movement from Renault. He gets the strikeout. His first K since entering the game. He was able to get a line out and a force play to bring an end to the 4th inning. Now sends a looping breaking ball in for strike 1 to Matt Jackson. Aside from Renault's pitching for the high school team this season, he really earned some high praise out of Coach Paul Pellegrini as here he induces a ground ball to shortstop. Tessina feeds Espinette for the out at second, and the throw to first completes the 6-4-3 inning-ending double play. Nice work around the infield for post 59, redeeming the defense after a sloppy start to this game. We now will head to the bottom of the 5th inning. Milford needing the bats to wake up. They trail Shrewsbury 4-2 as we bring you coverage of Milford Legion baseball here on First Class Radio. Coverage of Milford Legion baseball on First Class Radio, brought to you in part by they are the sponsor of our player of the game. It is Michael Farrell who leads off this bottom of the 5th inning. After he came into the game defensively in the top half of this 5th inning, Blake Hill no longer in the game. The 2-ball, 1-strike count on Farrell. And the next one in from Jack Snyder misses for ball 3. And now a hard ground ball, a diving play at third base from Bonolo, gets to his feet. His throw to first base is there in time for the out. And Coach DeVito sprinting across the diamond from the third base coach's box. That ball one-hopped into the glove of Alex Black at first. It had appeared that Farrell was able to get the foot onto the bag, but the out call made. Coach DeVito continuing the argument with the infield umpire, who remains motionless, listening to the words from the Milford head coach. Now, Coach Vito heading back towards third base, but turns and has a few more parting words.
And now batting number 22, Tyler Monahan.
To say that both coaching staffs have been displeased with the work from the umpires in this game tonight would be a bit of an understatement. It almost had the appearance that the infield umpire was going up with the out call even before the ball had gotten into the glove of Black at first base, as it did bounce in there. As now Monahan sends a ground ball to shortstop. It's fielded cleanly by McCune. His throw to first base there in plenty of time to retire Monahan.
Number 18, Jeff Bizazzi.
So 2 quick outs now in this inning, and that leaves it up to Jeff Bizazzi. Bizazzi, a single back in the second inning. He then walked in the third. Takes a pitch that just misses here. The next pitch from Snyder is driven in the air out to right field, drifting towards foul territory and out of the reach of Sam Shaw. Things unfolding in a similar fashion here tonight to what we saw in Leominster 2 days ago, where Milford really had the starting pitcher on the ropes in the first inning in particular. But eventually the bats growing silent. And for Milford, they've had base runners throughout this entire game. It's just been a matter of getting that key hit with men on base. That has eluded them all game long. Bizazzi continuing to work. A count of 2 balls and 2 strikes. A couple of shakes from Snyder, trying to get on the same page with his battery mate, and now Martin will go out for a conference. 2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs and the bases empty in the 5th inning. Starting to get late in this game. Milford has not scored since the first. They saw a 2-0 lead turn into a 4-2 deficit, and they have not been able to make any adjustments since then. Bizazzi now sends a hard line drive to third base, but Bonolo is able to make the grab. A couple of nice plays in the inning defensively from Bonolo as Milford goes 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 5th inning. We will head on to the 6th with Milford trailing Shrewsbury by a margin of 4-2 here on WMRC First Class Radio.
Now batting for Shrewsbury, number 2, Casey Boudreau.
Tyler Renault back out on the mound for post 59. He's settled things down since coming in relief. He's allowed just 1 base runner on a leadoff single last inning, but that runner was erased as part of a 6-4-3 inning-ending double play. And now Renault will face off against Casey Boudreau, the number 9 hitter, who swings at the first pitch and pops it up out to shallow center field. On comes Sean Rebello to make the catch. Had to travel a long way towards right field. He ended up only about 10 feet outside of the infield dirt, but was able to cover the ground and make the catch. And that's something we've very quickly gotten a read on with Sean Rebello. A reason Coach DeVito has trusted him with that center field role. He's got very good speed, very good reaction time out there in the outfield. And Renault now dealing with leadoff batter Adam Twitchell. And Twitchell jumps ahead in the count, 2 balls and no strikes. The windup and the pitch. That drops in low for ball 3. Sean Rebello, of course, continuing a line of very fine defensive outfielders to man that center field spot here at Pheno Field. Kevin Lynch serving as the starting center fielder for the previous 2 seasons, and before Kevin was the recently drafted player for the New York Mets, Ian Strom. If you have not heard the news yet, Ian Strom, who last played for Post 59 back in 2013, drafted by the New York Mets in the later rounds of this year's Major League Baseball draft. Twitchell now sends a ground ball to shortstop, played by DeCina. His throw to first base is not in time. It was a bounding ball that got to DeCina quickly. A good quick release towards first base, but a bang-bang play, and Twitchell able to beat it out, so good wheels from the leadoff batter. He's able to beat the good sure throw from DeCina, who is such a gifted defensive player at shortstop. So an infield single, Twitchell at first base now ahead of Tyler McCune, who takes a first pitch strike. McCune now sends a hard grounder to third base, fielded there by Wild. A low throw to second base, but out there, and the return throw to first base from Espinette is in time. Around the horn they go, 5-4-3, and for the second consecutive inning, Milford ends the frame with a double play ball. Even though that one was not played cleanly to start with for Wild, he sent a good strong throw. And there was still plenty of time to get the out at first base as well. So the 5-4-3 inning-ending double play. We will head to the bottom of the sixth inning. Can Milford mount a comeback? They trail Shrewsbury 4-2. More to come next here on First Class Radio.
Now batting for Milford, number 4, Joe Sanchione.
4 runs on 8 hits with no errors for Shrewsbury Post 397. 2 runs on 6 hits with 3 errors for Milford Post 59. They come to the plate now in the bottom of the sixth inning, just 6 outs left to work with. Facing the starting pitcher for Jack Snyder. It has not been pretty at times for Snyder, but he's been effective when it counts. After allowing 2 runs in the first inning, he has been able to hold Milford off the scoreboard since. He faces the number 8 hitter, Joe Sanchione. And already a count of 2 balls and 1 strike. A breaking ball that stays high for Snyder. And now some confusion as to whether that was a fair or foul ball. It looks like we're going to get a foul ball ruling. That one traveled down the third base line. It appeared foul initially, then it looked like it was starting to head towards fair territory. The third baseman did field it. It glanced off of his glove, but it did stay in foul territory. The third baseman in foul territory, so just a long strike, a 2-ball, 2-strike count on Sanchione. Back up there on the right side, swings at this pitch off the hands, and it just floats harmlessly towards the left side of the infield. An easy play for Bonolo, who makes the catch.
Now batting number 8, Sean Ravello.
So all of a sudden now, it's been 5 in a row retired for for Jack Snyder. He has 1 out now in this 6th inning, facing the number 9 hitter Sean Rabello, who lines a pitch out to left field, but it hangs up in the air long enough for Boudreau to range in a few feet to make the catch.
Now batting number 9, Matt.
And so frustration continues. It was a very quick 1-2-3 5th inning for Milford, and now the 6th inning. Things continuing to go in the wrong direction for Post 59. 2 very fast outs from Sanchione and Rabello, leaving the inning up to Matt DeCina, who was 1 for 3. He opened up the bottom of the first inning with a single, came around to score, but since then has flown out to center field and grounded out to third base. Now a 2-ball, 1-strike count. Snyder's next pitch, that is outside. Martin attempted to frame it, but ruled ball 3. And now DeCina swinging away at the 3-1 pitch, frustrated with himself. It may have been ball 4. He fouled it away off to the left. Digs back in there, a 3-2 pitch on the way, and that's in the dirt for ball 4. The 5th walk for Jack Snyder comes with 2 outs here in the 6th inning. That will break up the string of 6 consecutive batters retired. And it will give Brian Espinette a chance. Espinette also gathered a base hit in the 1st inning. He's 1 for 3 overall. And takes a first pitch strike from Jack Snyder. DeCina a lead at first base. As this pitch is sent in the air out to right field deep, racing back is Shaw, now backpedaling. He can't make the catch. The ball drops out of his glove. They will wave Matt DeCina all the way around from first base. Here comes the throw, the dive, and DeCina is out at the plate. It took a good relay throw. The ball came in towards second base, and then the throw to the plate, getting there just in time to get DeCina. Coach DeVito taking the chance, waving on one of his fastest runners. DeCina tried to dive around the tag, but he could not do so. And out at the plate for post 59, and that is how the bottom of the 6th inning comes to an end. So it will be a 4-2 score as we head into the 7th inning. Tyler Renault will be back out on the mound when we come back next here on WMRC First Class Radio. Tyler Renault hoping to hold serve here in the top of the 7th inning. He's pitched very well in relief so far, pitching 2 2/3 scoreless innings on just a pair of hits. He's also seen some much improved defense behind him after a rocky defensive start to this game for Milford that saw them commit 3 errors in the first 3 innings. Since then, the infield defense in particular turning 2 very nice double plays to end both the 5th and 6th innings. So Tyler Renault now issues in ball 1 to Sam Shaw. Shrewsbury bringing batters 3, 4, and 5 to the plate, hoping to gather in some insurance runs. Tyler Renault, an extremely quick worker out there on the mound, as here his pitch is popped up shallow on the infield. In comes Kevin Valentine from first base on the infield grass. He makes the catch.
Now batting number 10, Nick Martin.
So Shaw retired, 0 for 3 in the game. And now the cleanup hitter, Nick Martin, who singled in the 1st, doubled, and scored a run in the 3rd, and then lined out to right field. He stands in with the bases empty and 1 out. And immediately down, no balls and 1 strike. Now takes a swing at this pitch and sends it softly foul towards the backstop. They are into the bottom of the 6th inning now at Fenway Park. The Orioles continue to lead the Red Sox 2-0. As this pitch is hit towards the opposite field, a fair ball down the right field line. Off the bat of Martin, it will be extra bases as this one travels into foul territory. Now thinking 3 is Martin, and he is going to get there with a 1-out triple. That ball landed in fair territory, skidded down towards the 375-foot marker in the right field corner. Sanchioni had a bit of trouble digging it out, and Martin ends up all the way at third base with a triple. So a big insurance run standing there at third base with 1 out for Shrewsbury. And now first pitch swinging, Bonolo pops it up, playable in foul territory, but Basazzi and Valentine can't track it down, and it lands between them, harmlessly foul. Only about 10 or 15 feet away from home plate in foul territory down the first base line. Basazzi giving way to Valentine, but Valentine really had a long way to go for that one. It probably would have been an easier play for the catcher. So a big missed opportunity there for Milford. A possibility to get the second out, holding that runner at third base instead. The ball lands on the turf. Now a 1-ball, 1-strike count on Bonolo. Sends a hard ground ball foul wide of third base. Just missing the third base coach's box. Bonolo reached on an error in right field back in the third inning and scored a run, one of 2 unearned Shrewsbury runs. As Bonolo now sends one foul, this time down the first base line. 1 ball and 2 strikes, just 1 out in the inning. And Nick Martin with a lead in foul territory off of third base. Here's the pitch from Renault. It's well outside and low. Basazi pouncing on it, keeping it from going to the backstop. Now 2-2. The lefty Renault ready. Here's the pitch. And this is sent in the air deep out to center field. A long run for Rebello. He can't get to it. It drops down for a hit. Trotting home with the run is Martin, and down to second base with a double is Matt Bonolo. So back-to-back extra base hits for Shrewsbury here in the top of the 7th inning, and it results in a big insurance run. Shrewsbury now up 5-2. No further action in the bullpen for Post 59, so it looks like this is Tyler Renault's inning. Looks like he is starting to tire a bit here in the 7th. He pitched 2 2/3 very strong innings, but giving up back-to-back extra base hits with 1 out here in the 7th. And it results in an additional run for Shrewsbury, now up 5-2, still batting. And the first pitch into Alex Black is a called strike 1. Shrewsbury now with 4 extra base hits in the game, 3 doubles and the triple. Nick Martin, meanwhile, who tripled in this inning, also has a double and a single to his credit, so just a home run away from the cycle. There's the 1-1 pitch. That is in for a called strike 2. Shrewsbury looking for some payback here against Milford. A lot of these players were around last year when Milford eliminated Shrewsbury from the playoffs in an epic 1-game playoff clash, a game that was played out at Shrewsbury High School. Here's a called strike 3 dealt into Alex Black, who has some words for the home plate umpire before he leaves. That's the 2nd strikeout of the game for Tyler Renault, the 5th overall for Milford pitching. Now a swing and a miss from Dylan Zona for strike 1. Milford ended up winning that playoff game 7-6. That game went 9 innings, saw a couple of lead changes over those extra innings. Milford ended up scoring the game-winning run on what was a fairly controversial bases-loaded walk. And then held on to win. That game saw some clutch pitching out of the bullpen by Kyle Nocera. But there is no doubt that Shrewsbury's come to the field here today looking for a little revenge against Post 59. They're 3 outs away from a victory. They're up 5-2. Milford will have one last chance in the bottom half of this 7th inning, but not through with the top half of the inning yet. A 1-2 pitch on the way to Dylan Zona and misses outside. Zona's been on base twice today, a single in the 2nd inning, a walk in the 3rd. He's scored one of the 5 Shrewsbury runs. Here he swings and misses. Down on strikes, back-to-back Ks as Tyler Renault rebounds to bring an end to the inning, but the triple followed by the RBI double from Matt Bonolo gives Shrewsbury an insurance run. They will take a 5-2 lead into the bottom of the 7th inning. Milford hoping for a dramatic late inning comeback. We'll see if it happens when we come back next here on WMRC First Class Radio. Milford sending batters 3, 4, and 5 to the plate, trying to make one last stand here against Shrewsbury. Kevin Valentine leading it off. A half swing here as he grounds a pitch to the left side. A bobble out of the third baseman, Bonolo. The throw to first base, not in time, and Valentine is on to start the inning. Valentine trying to check a swing. He ended up poking the ball out towards the left side of the infield. Bonolo ranged in on the grass, bobbled the ball a couple of times, and the throw to first base, not close. So Milford catches a break on the second Shrewsbury error. Valentine at first base. He's been on base all 4 times he's come to the plate tonight. 1 hit, a pair of walks, and now reaching on the error. Aiden Wild now at the dish. He sends a ground ball towards third base. Bonolo will fire high to second base, and it pulls the second baseman off the bag. Valentine slides in safely. Everyone's safe. And 2 men on to start the inning for Milford. And it looks like we will have a pinch hitter coming up here for post 59 as Jake LeBlanc has a bat in hand, a helmet on, and looks like he's going to take the place here of Michael Farrell. Right now, LeBlanc talking things over with Coach DeVito as Coach Vaccaro makes a visit to the mound. Jack Snyder is still out there trying for the complete game effort, but he is in some trouble. So Jake LeBlanc will make his post 59 debut with a key pinch hitting appearance. Takes a first pitch strike from Snyder. Valentine reaching on the E5. Aiden Wild reaching on the fielder's choice, where the throw went high to second base. So 2 on, nobody out. Milford bringing the tying run to the plate, but LeBlanc, after a swing and a foul ball, is down 0-2. The next pitch is swung on and missed. So LeBlanc up there in a pinch hitting role, but a 3-pitch strikeout. And so a big spot in the game with Blake Hill's spot in the lineup coming up. But Blake Hill coming out, we're not exactly sure of the reason. And LeBlanc in a pinch hitting role, unable to get the job done. So 1 out now in the inning. And Tyler Monahan at the plate. Tyler's had a tough day, a pair of strikeouts and a ground out. Takes the first pitch low for ball 1. Monahan off to an 0-for-6 start to the season, so due to break out. He'd love to have it happen right here. Here's the 1-0 pitch. He sends it on the ground towards first base. It's fielded by Black. He'll go the sure route to first base himself to get the out there. So Monahan retired 3 unassisted. The runners do move up, but with now 2 outs in the inning, Milford down to their final out. It will take something from Jeff Basazzi if we are to continue. Basazzi does represent the tying run. He is 1 for 2. Takes a breaking ball that missed high for ball 1. The Milford bench cheering on Basazzi, who takes a big cut but comes up empty, evening the count at 1. Most of the Shrewsbury bench standing right at the edge of their dugout area, hoping for a victory. Here's the 1-1. This is a high fly ball down the left field line. Racing after it into foul territory is Casey Boudreau, and he cannot secure it in the glove. He went sliding, partially obscured by the light tower from our position, but as he reappeared, the ball rolled out further into foul territory. So Boudreau making a bid for a phenomenal catch to end the game, but could not hold on, and Basazzi will get another chance. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs in the inning. Milford with 2 runners in scoring position. The last chance for a comeback. Here's the pitch to Basazi, and it's in for a called strike 3, and the ball game is over. Just that kind of game for Post 59. Runners really all game long. They start this inning with 2 runners on and nobody out, but they cannot score, and so Milford will drop the home opener here at Pheno Field by a final score of 5-2. Shrewsbury takes the victory. They're now 2-0 on the season. Milford with the loss. They drop to 1-1 overall on the year as the 2 teams now shake hands. Shrewsbury gets that revenge they were hoping for, as Milford just could not get the bats going consistently in the game, and they suffer their first loss of the season.